This presentation outlines the City of Sydney Council's role in the Central Park development and subsequent issues with Part 3A planning assessments. It is intended to inform City of Sydney residents of planning processes. The Central Park development is located in the city fringe suburb of Chippendale on the site of the former Old Kent Brewery, owned by Carlton United Breweries CUB. In April 2003, CUB announced the closure of the Old Kent Brewery, effective from February 2005. Australand Holdings Proprietary Limited held options on the purchase of the site. The planning phase then began, which included the creation of a draft Site-Specific Local Environmental Plan, LEP, which would encompass rezoning the site, a draft voluntary planning agreement and a conservation management plan. There were two planning assessment authorities involved in the assessment of the CUB site. Between 2003 and 2005, the proposal was handled by the City of Sydney Council via the Central Sydney Planning Committee, CSPC. Between 2005 and 2009, the proposal was handled by the New South Wales Minister for Planning, Mr. Frank Sartor. The Planning Authority changed as a result of a decision made by the Minister based on the following events. In March 2005, the conditional agreement for the sale of the CUB site to Australand was rescinded, with the developer citing delays in the council planning process as the reason. In June 2006, the Minister sent a letter to the Sydney Lord Mayor Clover Moore, raising concerns regarding the handling of the development. He also sent a copy to the CSPC. Following receipt of the Minister's letter, the CSPC held a special meeting and voted to recommend the Minister use powers under Part 3A of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act to call in this development, enabling the Department to assume control of the determination. Under Part 3A of the EP&A Act, the Minister of Planning is able to assume control of assessing developments which are considered to be of state or regional significance. Usually these are large infrastructure projects such as roads or dams, but may also include large development projects conducted by private industry. In February 2007, the Minister signed the Instrument of Approval for the site, which included modifications to the plans submitted by the site owner. This included a reduction in FSR to 4.05 to 1. In June 2007, the CUB site was purchased by Fraser's Property, who then submitted a modified concept plan. This included increasing the gross floor space to 257,000 square metres, reduction in on-site car parking from 2,400 to less than 2,000 spaces, incorporating environmentally sustainable design elements, for example trigeneration and power plant, and redistributing building masses from the Chippendale frontage to the Broadway frontage. This modified concept plan was approved by the Minister in February 2009 and building works began. The Council had a few concerns regarding the amendments. The Council had determined that an FSR of 4 to 1 was the absolute maximum of acceptable density. However, the proposed FSR on a scoping paper, prepared by CUB as the basis for redevelopment and the new planning controls, was 4.5 to 1. Additionally, the proposal indicated that building heights of up to 110 metres were being considered, which were 3 stories higher than permissible under the draft LEP for the site. Higher FSRs would allow for greater density within the development, leading to a higher number of occupants. Impacts on the local community and infrastructure must be considered. For example, where will these people park their cars, and where will they send their children to schools, and what will be the increase in traffic on the local residential streets. Tall buildings bring additional issues such as overshadowing, both of neighbouring residences but also of the public spaces of the site. How beneficial will an open public park be if it is permanently shaded by the towers? Today, the Central Park site has reinvigorated the southern fringe of the Sydney CBD. There is a lively retail precinct, an award-winning tower with vertical gardens, and a heliostat which alleviates overshadowing issues, as well as large open spaces and a public park. Arguably, the residents of the City of Sydney have benefited from the redevelopment of a former brewery. However, there are certain aspects of the development which Council believes could have been improved. It was unnecessary for the Minister to call on the development to be assessed under Part 3A. The Council was already heavily involved in the project, and the delays cited by the Minister were not the fault of the Council. If Council had retained control of the development, an increased FSR would not have been approved for the site, keeping to a maximum of 4 to 1. This would have resulted in reduced density for the site, which was in keeping with the expectations of the community and surrounding residents. In 2008, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that many residents were unhappy with the size of the development, raising concerns regarding double and triple parking in their streets and impacts to the socio-economic mix of the neighbourhood. The great success of the Central Park development is in its architectural design. This still would have been a desired outcome of any development approved by the Council, and design excellence would have been maintained. In summary, the Central Park development has been successful in providing additional amenities, including a retail precinct, award-winning architectural design, public parks and open spaces, which can be enjoyed by residents of Chippendale and the wider Sydney City community. However, assessing this development under Part 3A was unnecessary and interrupted an important connection between the Council and the community. By taking the power of assessment away from the Council, the community also loses influence and impact upon important aspects of a development, including density and design. It is vital that councils retain control of developments in order to shape effective and efficient cities.